going on, Jets fans? Welcome into NYJ today. I'm glad to have you guys with us. And joining me is DJ Bien-Amie. Boom! DJ Bien-Amie is joining us. He is from the New York Daily News. He is the new reporter for the Daily News. It's really good to have you, man. How you doing tonight? I can't hear you. You're muted or something.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
My bad. I thank you for having me. Happy to be here. You know what I'm saying? Can't wait to dive into some of these topics.
Yes, sir. We got them all squared away, ready to roll here. We got a couple of comments. I'm just going to go to those every once in a while. So J.E. is joining me, and he says, Go Jets, draft Zaven Collins or cornerback Newsome at 23. Second round draft O-line, third round Marquez, Stevenson a speedster, and Moses the linebacker from Bama. There are a ton of options in the draft, as we all know, and we will be getting into that for sure. So I'm going to start it off just talking about you, DJ, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the New York Jets. So you are new to the Daily News as of January this year. Is that right?
No. As of March.
Well, then I'm correct.
I think. Yeah, March 22nd, I believe.
Okay, cool. And I was just going to ask you basically, like, how's the job been so far? Is it what you expected? Has it been an adjustment period? Are you enjoying it?
So I'm most definitely enjoying it. From day one when it was announced, and I had a bunch of Jets fans in my mentions. I was saying, so I've enjoyed it from day one. I was covering high school prior to this, up in St. Augustine, Florida, which is about an hour south of Jacksonville. But besides that, the adjustment's just been more like just the amount of content, but the structure of writing stories and things like that, the basics are still the same. The who, what, when, where, and why. Just trying to story tell, trying to break. The only thing that's different is like you're trying to break news, trying to get in contact with sources and talk to agents and stuff like that, and you have a lot less access because in high school everybody wants to talk, everybody, because you control what gets out. Like you are their quote unquote ESPN. You know what I'm saying? You're their storyteller. Out here, everybody is, they can either tell their story or somebody they can just go to somebody else or go to their social media or they just don't want to talk, and that's okay because they don't technically need the coverage per se. So that's probably the biggest difference is the access. But yeah, it's still telling stories at the end of the day.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for bringing that down. So yeah, the Jets fans are rabid, as you know. You've been swarmed by them on Jets Twitter, I believe, and and I have to say, if you're not following DJ on Twitter, he's a great follow. Lots of action on the Twitter. Not just Jets football. We all love the focus on the Jets, but he does talk a lot about different sports, different topics. So keep that in mind as we go through the night. The other thing I was going to bring up, it is well known that you are a Miami Dolphins fan, and if you know the movie Half Baked DJ, boo this man. We're booing you, sir. We got a comment saying, welcome you to the chat. He says, hey, John, welcome DJ from Grant Root. Thank you for Grant for tuning in. All kidding aside, you are a known Miami Dolphins fan who now covers the New York Jets.
Yes.
And I personally find it laughable that people think because you're a Dolphins fan, there's no way you'll be able to separate bias from being a Dolphins fan to your job. And I think that's kind of crazy because this is your job you're getting paid to do, not a hobby.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, as you just already alluded to, like I get paid to cover the Jets. I don't get paid to be a fan for the Dolphins.
Right.
And on top of that, my Dolphin fandom has nothing to do with the Jets outside of 2 weeks. So obviously, yeah, I can focus on the Jets, pay attention a little bit to the pay a little bit of attention to the Dolphins, whatever they got going on. By the end of the day, my job, my day in, day out focus is going to be on, whatever the Jets have going on for the most part, because that's what pays the bills.
And that's the thing I kind of wanted to emphasize for people. I mean, this is the first time I'm meeting you and talking with you, but I would assume as a reporter, you can't really involve your your personal fandom or even just personal life into the reporting of the team. So I think people need to understand that. And I'm speaking up for you, sir.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's why I don't really tweet too much Dolphin stuff because I just don't want to start that fire or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So
You got to create a secret identity. Just tweet about it. It's on the side.
I thought about that, but it only takes one time where you tweet from your secret identity account or quote unquote your burner account, and then like now, everybody now knows who you are. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
exactly. All right, so enough about that. We'll get into like some of the specific topics. By the way, guys, if you do want to call in, if you want to talk just Jets in general, if you want to speak on the Jets, you are more than welcome to do so. The number is scrolling at the top of the screen. If you want to call in, I would actually prefer that you guys take advantage of it. I would like you guys to call in and ask questions specifically for DJ. I think that would be the best use of our time since he's here and he's tuning in. So anyway, feel free to call in, but while we're talking or while we're waiting, we are going to go to the next topic. Where that was just kind of getting to know you a little bit.
Right.
The next topic is just basically I want to hear your thoughts on Sam Darnold's trade. It's been talked a lot about, so I don't want to beat a dead horse necessarily.
Right.
I wanted to give you a chance to kind of just talk about what transpired, where he's going, the compensation that the Jets got back in return.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of go at it from what you feel like, your perspective.
I mean, I think Joe Douglas did a really good job getting a second round pick, even though it's for the 2022 draft. But him being able to get a second round pick when some of the narrative was Sam Darnold's market was like a third or a fourth for this year. But him being able to get a second is pretty good. That sets up the Jets really well for this year's draft and next year's draft. I like that pickup. And I also want to put out there that no matter what Sam Darnold does in Carolina, let's say he lights it up, the Jets still made the right move to move on because it's pretty obvious that whatever he becomes in Carolina, he just wasn't going to be that in New York. Or he could just, be the same thing he was in New York and Carolina. But
I hope for his sake it's not that way.
Right. And, hopefully, he could turn it around. But if he does, let's say he goes out there and he's like, he becomes like Ryan Tannehill. At the end of the day, it was in the best interest for both parties to go separate ways. Like it just wasn't gonna work out the way that Sam wanted it to, and the Jets kind of were, restrained by the contract situation that was approaching with the fifth-year option that they had to accept by May. And then because let's say you bring him back, and let's say that he has another tumultuous year, he's not that good. Now you're kind of stuck with like, well, now we're in year 4, and we're still not seeing that much progress. You know what I'm saying? But now you get to set the clock, get a new quarterback in. And now you can build around that quarterback, learn from your mistakes that happened with Sam Darnold, and allow probably most likely Zach Wilson to thrive.
Yep. And I think you hit on it. You said that it sets them up well for the next year's draft, which is important, I think, for Joe Douglas and the Jets. They're trying to not have the same situation play out with what they just had in Sam Darnold. They're not trying to have a situation where they don't have enough draft capital to upgrade the team. They want to be able to sustain through the draft. That should be the the lifeblood of the franchise is building through the draft, being able to draft players and they're just cheaper. That's just the easy way to say it is they're much, much cheaper than going the free agent route.
Exactly. I mean, most of the good teams were built through the draft for the most part. Like Kansas City was built through the draft. Tampa Bay, even though they got brought in Tom Brady, for the most part, most of their like star players were, they drafted like Devontae David or David White or no, it's Devin White. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. The list goes on and on and on. That most of the guys were drafted and developed, and then obviously brought Tom Brady in, blah 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 blah. But
they also drafted Tristan Wirfs, their talent that just thrived for them this past year.
Exactly. And they drafted Antoine Winfield Jr. You know what I'm saying? So
yes,
that was a huge. Exactly. So if you build through the draft properly, it'll set you up for long-term success. Because you could end up like the Rams, where like they drafted a little bit, but then they went all in and brought, started trading for players and signing a lot of dudes to big deals and things like that. And then, before you know it, once that window closed, that basically shipped everybody off in a sense. They had to get rid of Todd Gurley, had to get rid of Brandon Cooks, had to get rid of Marcus Peters, So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part though, if you build through the draft and you hit on those picks, you'll have a team that'll be a lot, set up for a long-term success.
Exactly. And if you can hit that along with having somebody that's young at quarterback, like the
Mhm.
Chiefs did, it didn't work exactly that way with the Bucks. Obviously, they didn't have a young quarterback, but they were able to, like you said, build through the draft.
Exactly.
Just a quick couple of comments here. So JE is throwing shade at Darnold. He says Sam Darnold missed a throw into triple coverage. Does follow that up. He does say, I feel Joe Brady and Matt Rule will help Sam Darnold succeed. So he's obviously just kidding around mostly.
Agree.
Uh, there's a couple of good questions actually in the chat, but I'm going to save them for a different segment just because they do relate to the draft and the team itself. So, yeah, the overall feeling that I have on the trade is just that it, like you said, it was the right time. The Jets were doing what was best for them, and honestly, it was best for Darnold. I think that if Darnold is going to have success, it's going to have to come with a team like Carolina.
Right.
Um, they're ridiculously spoiled with weapons over there. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a beast, and I feel like they might use that 8th overall pick for an offensive lineman, so he's going to have good protection. I just love.
They might use it on a quarterback.
Oh my God, could you imagine that? So my friend who is on the channel, he comes on my show every Wednesday, and he was saying the same thing. He thinks they might actually still be in the market for a quarterback. I think that. I mean, if they want to take Trey Lance there, that would be interesting to me. I think that would be really cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they should still be in the market for a quarterback because you can't commit to a quarterback that just came off the year that Sam Darnold just had. You know what I'm saying? Because even with the Colts, if Carson doesn't have a good year, they'll be looking to get another quarterback because this is kind of like a 1 year trial in a sentence, and with Sam Darnold. So
Yep, exactly. All right, cool. Yeah, there's a lot of good comments. Yeah, I'm favoring all of these comments, guys. Don't feel like I'm ignoring you. I do want to save them though for future segments. Let me ask you what you think how he'll do with the Panthers. How do you think? What kind of season will he have? Be honest. I have my own opinion. I'd like to hear yours before I give you.
um, what type of season he'll have? Well, I mean, right now, as everything stands, he's probably the fourth best quarterback in that division. So
Ouch. And that's the truth.
yeah, because I mean, even Jameis Winston is still. Let's say Jameis Winston is the starter for the Saints. He's still better than Sam Darnold. Matt Ryan is still better than Sam Darnold. Tom Brady, obviously, we don't discuss that. So he'd still be the fourth best quarterback in the division. But I mean, he could still have success though. I think I could see probably 20 plus touchdowns.
Stat
Completion.
situations.
I mean, because he's gonna have some really good weapons, throwing to Robbie Anderson, as you alluded to, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. They have better offensive scheme. So I mean, I could see him throwing for over 20 touchdowns, getting over 3,500 passing yards. So yeah, I mean, we'll see though. We'll see what else they bring around him. They'll see if they draft another quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, but we'll see. I think he can still have success though. I don't think they'll have Ryan Tannehill success because that is an anomaly. You go from like unwanted to having 40 touchdowns.
It is extremely rare. I think the only other circumstance that I can think that's similar was Rich Gannon when he left the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Struggled early on in his career, and then when he got to the Raiders later in his career, he really blossomed. So
Right.
it's extremely unlikely. I just think that he's in the best situation that he could ask for with good coaching. He's got
Yeah.
good weapons. I don't see him lighting it up because you did make a good point. He's in one of the tougher divisions,
Yeah.
and the Falcons also will prove to be difficult. I believe they're in the same division, right? NFC.
Yeah. 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 They're in the same division.
So that'll be a tough one. I think that they will struggle to win, about half their games. I think that's about where they're going to be. That's what I think their outlook is for the season, regardless. So we'll see, and we can really move off of Darnold. We don't need to spend all night talking about him because
I just hope like the article I just wrote about Sam Darnold today, I hope that's the last time I have to like write a Sam Darnold centric article. You know what I'm saying?
I think people are worn out from it, and I think everybody's ready to move on, regardless of whether their quarterback gets selected at 2 or maybe somebody else's. We're all good with that. Let's see. We'll go to the second topic because it goes right into that.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, topic 3, my bad. Or no, topic. Oh yeah, no, topic 3. Sorry. So the next topic is number 2 overall decision. It's massive. It's a obvious statement to make, but I don't think that it can be stated enough how important it is. If they f this up, uh, they do not do what they need to do to help the quarterback to be successful. I think that we saw the Buffalo Bills just completely do one of the most incredible things, which was take a really, really raw quarterback in Josh Allen coming out of Wyoming. I did not like Josh Allen coming out of college. I actually did not. I was like, stay away from him.
I was like 110% sure like he was gonna flame out. Like I was just like, yeah, he's not gonna work. He's not accurate. That's what we've been taught. Like, oh, if the quarterback's not accurate, then he's not gonna be able to succeed in NFL. And you can't teach accuracy, blah 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 blah. And obviously you can teach those things and you can develop those things. So yeah, because I think on my list I had I think I for the 2018 class I had Baker, Lamar, Rosen, Darnold, then actually, yeah, I was really high on Rosen, unfortunately. That's why I'm not
Yeah,
a quarterback evaluator. But
I
uh
liked him too. He was in like the middle of the group though.
Rosen failing was kind of like the signal of like the end of those type of quarterbacks. So if your quarterback can't move, like, even though Mac Jones is getting propped up, but he shall too see what being unathletic in today's NFL will result in. But yeah, so I wasn't that high on on Josh Allen like at all. Like, I'm like, yeah, he's not gonna work. Like what? Doesn't
And
like
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're
yeah,
good.
yeah, and now he was an MVP candidate and is a top 5 quarterback now. So
It's incredible what they did, and I give the full tip of my cap to them because I never expected it to happen, and they completely bossed out on that. They did everything right. They had great coaching, and they just kept helping him to succeed. And I think the thing that I've been connecting with Fields,
mhm.
we'll get into Fields and Zach Wilson in this discussion topic, is I feel like with Fields, a lot of people say, oh, his running ability, it hinders him. And I feel like it's kind of asinine to say because Josh Allen was obviously running like a wild chicken with his head cut off,
Right.
and it helped him to develop. Like he learned how to play the game,
Right.
and by being able to run, it was a crutch, but it was also like one of those things where he needed it too. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right. No,
So
110% agree. Yeah,
So anyway,
110% agree.
I'm gonna just let you talk a little bit because I know I noted on Twitter that you had been backing Justin Fields. I have a lot of people actually that follow the channel that are very very adamant about Justin Fields and how he should be the number 2 overall pick. So I'll just let you chime in on what you feel like. I mean, maybe you disagree. Maybe you feel both are worthy because that's how I feel. I feel both are worthy.
Right. So both are worthy. So about 2 weeks ago, I was like, yeah, Justin Fields, Justin Fields, Justin Fields. That should be the number 2 pick. I still believe that Justin Fields would be, I do feel he's the better prospect. However, I know we're at the point where like Zach Wilson's going to be the quarterback. Like it is what it is at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I think that Justin Fields has more arm. Well, he has a stronger arm. Is a better athlete. Is bigger. He's taller.
Probably more durable too.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't had any injuries, and obviously Zach Wilson had some injuries in his career. We've seen Justin Fields on a bigger stage. One thing I will give Zach Wilson is he's a little bit better when it comes to anticipating throws and when it comes to off script stuff. Because when it goes off script for Justin Fields, he's looking to run. When it's off script for Zach Wilson, more than not, he's looking to throw. But I mean, I can't ignore what Justin Fields is able to do throughout his, college career versus what Zach Wilson did throughout his college career. Because we have to be honest. Granted, he just can't control his competition, and you can only evaluate the film and the traits, which are pretty good.
Yeah.
He didn't really play that. He didn't really play much competition last year. But the way it's looking, it's gonna be Zach Wilson, and hopefully the Jets can um, put the team around him that he needs to succeed.
So I'll just follow up, and then I've got a million a million comments I got to look through here. But basically, what do you think they should do, and what do you think they will do? Now, I think I already know your answer on what they will do, but
Yeah.
what do you think they should do? What do you
I,
think? What do you think if you were in charge? What would you do?
if I was in charge, I'd go Justin Fields and I look back and just build the offense around him. You know what I'm saying? Get him the weapons he needs. Get him a running game. Get him a good defense, and he's gonna cook. Because here's the thing. I mean, in the Mike LaFleur offense, obviously it's the Kyle Shanahan West Coast offense. Most quarterbacks eat in that offense, whether it's Matt Schaub or RG3 or Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, even though Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, you know what I'm saying? But Jared Goff, because he's also from that tree from Kyle Shanahan. So that's why I would go Justin Fields because, with his athleticism and a lot of their throws are schemed open. You know what I'm saying? Like it's before the play, there's a certain read that they're gonna go with, and it's usually there because they're so good schematically at creating these mismatches that quarterbacks don't have to do too much thinking. You know what I'm saying? That's why Jimmy Garoppolo was able to thrive the way he was. I mean, because this past few weeks, I went through a lot of 49ers film, and there were just so many times where they were able to scheme open throws. That's why like Nick Mullins was able to have success.
Right, that's a good point.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And like he's not overly talented. He's not the best, you know what I'm saying? But he's able to have success because they're able to be ahead of the defenses so often. It just, and I would hope that, watching, when they were in the Super Bowl, watching Patrick Mahomes, how he played, how he was able to, just put the team on his back and make plays off script and make off platform throws, how they would see that. But then again, Zach Wilson, when you watch Zach Wilson, I will give him his credit. You do see Aaron Rodgers, you do see not Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes. So when
Yep.
you see those two things, that's what I want. I want that because we see what Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers look like. We see how great they can be. With Justin Fields, I've had some scouts tell me he's like a combination of Josh Allen slash Dak, more athletic Dak Prescott with a little bit of Josh Allen just off of pure traits, which is a very very fair comp, in all honesty. But yeah, I mean, we've seen Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers win Super Bowls, Super Bowl MVPs, multiple MVPs. We've seen Josh Allen go crazy, but we haven't seen him win an MVP. We haven't seen him we haven't seen Dak Prescott go deep into the playoffs. So when the comparison and things like that. So that's why I can understand why we, tend to lean towards what we know will work. Because the way Zach Wilson plays, we know that can, if he reaches his ceiling, that will possibly win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. No, I think for sure, and I think you're hitting on it. And I just think that people need to understand, like, they are in a really good position. Like, the Jets have two really good quarterback prospects, and I think some people just kind of lose sight on that. And that's the thing that has been equally as tiresome as the Darnold discussion has been the warfare that if you believe Zach Wilson is good and should be picked at 2, then you're an idiot. Right. It's clearly Justin Fields, and then vice versa. If you think Justin Fields should go 2, you're an idiot. It should be Zach Wilson. I'm just so tired of all of that. Like, I just feel like it should be somewhere in the middle, just a little bit more, because they're really good prospects.
This is what I'll say. It's going to come down to wherever any of these quarterbacks go, it's going to come down to how you build the team around them. Unless you're a Mitchell Trubisky, where the team is built pretty well around you, got good defense, good offensive mind, but you're not good enough. But those are far few in between. It comes down to how teams build around you. You know what I'm saying? Sam Darnold didn't have a good offensive line, had okay receivers, didn't have a run game. He struggled. Lamar Jackson he's had the best defense since he's been in the NFL. That's why he's been able to win with the best running attack. Because I think since he's been in the NFL since 2018, the Ravens have given up 18 points per game. So that can lead to a lot of wins. Baker Mayfield got 2 Pro Bowl running backs, 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers. The PFF had their O-line rated the best last year. And so that he was able to thrive in that situation. Josh Allen was okay the first 2 years. We all saw it. And then he got Stephon Diggs with a good defense. Boom. MVP candidate. So it's really going to come down to how you build a team around your quarterback. No matter who you take, as long as the Jets don't go up there and they draft Kyle Trask or something. Then that's like, yo, what's going on here? But for the most part, it's gonna come down to who you how you build around the quarterback. Because again, most of the time we do all this evaluation, who's better than who, blah 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 blah. But it's gonna come down to how you build the team around that player. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
again, if you don't build it right, it's just not gonna work out. Like if Patrick Mahomes ends up in, let's say, because
New York.
well.
Go ahead, though. I know what you're going to say.
Right. No, I wasn't gonna say that. Let's say Patrick Mahomes ended up in Cleveland. Remember, Cleveland had the number one overall pick in 2017. Let's say he went to that situation with Hugh Jackson in that dysfunctional situation. Is Patrick Mahomes who he is now? Probably not. Same with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson ended up going to the Texans, even though you had Bill O'Brien, who is problematic. However, he still had a solid defense, and he had DeAndre Hopkins to throw the ball to. So that was conducive for success. So again, if Deshaun Watson goes a little bit earlier and goes to a bad situation, or Patrick Mahomes, maybe they don't reach, become what they are right now. So that's how that's what I've just come to realize, that it's really all just situational. It doesn't really matter. Like, it does matter who you pick, of course, but it comes down because Joe Burrow just tore his ACL first year in, after he was doing extremely well for a rookie. He was doing extremely well. Tore his ACL because they didn't give him an offensive line to work with.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and they need to fix that in this draft, like, immediately.
Well, it looked like they might draft a receiver or a tight end, and instead of giving him a good left tackle or a good right tackle. But hey, that's why they're the Bengals. So
T. Higgins played nice last year. I like T. Higgins a lot.
Right, same. They don't need a receiver. They need an offensive line.
That's how I feel too. All right, I gotta hit these chats because we've been blasted and I have not been doing a good job with that. So let me just go right to it. So J.E., he does come in and he says Zach Wilson is a right-handed Steve Young. You could make the case because, Steve Young was pretty mobile himself. I don't know if he's got the same arm talent, but definitely you can make the case. They both went to BYU.
Right.
Red Sports, he says, I think Zach will be good, but I believe Fields will be superior. And I think that's a good comment. Nothing wrong with that take at all. I have no problem with that.
When I was talking to TJ Houshmandzadeh last week, he said whichever one goes to San Fran is going to be the one that's probably going to had the better career because they're going to the better team.
Right. Yeah, no, they've got Deebo Samuel. They have George Kittle. They've got that system in place. They've got great coaching. Kyle Shanahan's awesome. So you are not wrong, and he is not wrong in saying that. There's a couple of random comments that I'll just throw out there. So Michael Fisher is saying, how much patience do you think the New York media will give Joe D and Robert?
That's a really good question. So, how much patience? Depends how they look. It just really depends how they look, because they didn't give Adam Gase much patience. People are saying Adam Gase should have been fired year one.
He probably should. In retrospect, it's easy to say that, but at the time, I was get this dude out.
Right. And he finished, I think, 7-9 that year, and people were like, I don't know. So obviously, the Jet, New York media isn't nearly as patient and as friendly when it comes to that type of stuff. Man, I don't think they'll be overly patient. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
Because I remember, like, as a Dolphins fan, when Brian Flores, his first year, like, the media was extremely patient. They kind of gave them a mulligan year. Like, they didn't even criticize anything. They were losing by 50 points. Week one against the Ravens, were losing by 40, I think 49-0 to the Patriots. Like, the media wasn't crushing them, but I know if that was in New York, they would have been crushing them regardless. So, I don't think they'll be too patient. Which is why I think they made some of the moves that they made, which was go sign Corey Davis and go sign Carl Lawson. Because just that overall pressure, and they probably think they could turn this around pretty fast. And they know if they don't turn it around pretty fast, that the heat will be on them.
Not only that, but there is I feel like there is a race now to become either the best team in the AFCs, which I think the Bills have proven as of right now they are that. But then there's a race to get to second right now. The Patriots are now restarting. The Dolphins are completely, ridiculously stacked in the draft. And we know the Jets have a lot of draft capital. The Dolphins have even more.
Right.
So I feel like there's urgency in that regard. Like you might not be number one this year.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of these other three teams that not named the Bills. You better damn well want to be the number two team soon and quick.
Here's the thing, like the Patriots, they're they basically did what like every bad team does, right? If you're bad, like you go out free agency and you overpay for everybody. So
I didn't like their. I thought a lot of people were very like excited by it. I just thought that it was a foolish move to do that.
exactly, exactly. I mean, I get it. You have to he wanted to bring in some more talent, but like they don't get a quarterback. How much longer can you ride with Cam? You know what I'm saying? So that's that. Obviously, the Jets are still rebuilding, but they're trying to get to what you were just talking about, the second spot eventually to compete with the Bills. The Dolphins, even though they finished 10-6 in my eyes, they're still rebuilding because they still got to get Tua Tagovailoa some weapons. And obviously the offensive lines have to develop. They got to get another running back. So they're still in that chase. So right now I think like it's like the Bills and then like separation between everybody else in the AFC East right now. I mean, you can make the argument that the Patriots are better. I mean, are the second best team. You can make the argument that the Dolphins are the second best team. You can make the argument that the Jets could surprise people and become the second best team in the AFC East because with the fourth place schedule, they're gonna play three other fourth place teams and be
Yeah,
able to
a good way to look at it. Yeah.
capitalize
Yep.
on that.
I think they just need to show competency. I think that's what people are going to want to look at. They're going to want to see Robert Saleh making good decisions as the head coach. And I think they're going to want to see whoever they take at number two from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, actual progression and just, again, just competency, not this, ruining of a quarterback kind of situation. There's a new member in the chat, Gumball 3D. I'm going to pop you up here. Welcome, sir, to our channel. We're happy to have you. So Gumball 3D, he says, Saleh and Douglas get 3 years. In my opinion, there needs to be visible progress year to year, though. He also says the Bills will have to pay Allen soon. Let's see how that affects the rest of their roster. And yes, that is a definite impact. And I just think that they're going to continue to do what they've been doing, supplementing through free agency and using the draft to continue to build. So I don't think that that contract will be the end all be all for them.
I
It's
think
more
it's
or less.
overblown. The
Go ahead.
contract, yeah, the contract thing's overblown. Like, has the contract thing stopped the Packers from being able to go to back NFC Championship games? Has the contract, Russell Wilson's contract, prevented the Seahawks from from making the playoffs? Like, the contract thing to me has always been overblown. It's on the front office to, draft right and, value who they should and shouldn't keep and things like that. So
Yep.
the contract thing is kind of, I feel like it's a talking point that people in the media, they say, and then people like kind of like latch on to that and just kind of run with that. But yeah, I mean, that's what you have the draft for, to get cheap, as you alluded to, get cheaper players that you can roll with and develop.
A lot of people agree with you, Gumball. And again, welcome to the channel. Hope you subscribe, buddy. Let's see here. So we've talked about the quarterbacks, and I do want to get a few more comments here. Let me make sure. So there's a couple people asking you questions, which I don't want to miss out on. So the first question, I will go to Grant, and he is rude. His last name is rude, and he's just rude. And he said, "Did you hear anything about the coaching staff wanting to keep or to move on from Darnold?"
Hearing something, I mean, Joe Douglas alluded that there was a consideration. I know that I brought it out on Twitter about should the Jets keep Sam Darnold and draft Zach Wilson and have them compete or whatnot. And I remember Peter Schrager talked about that a little bit, and I was like, you want to hear the dumbest thing regarding that. But Joe Douglas did reveal that that was a possibility, that they considered that, but they realized, they came to the agreement that that wouldn't be a good situation for Sam, Zach, Saleh, or the locker room. So that was a good thing. And Joe Douglas even said that if he had waited, let's say the Jets would have had a pick later in the draft, he said that they would have rolled with Sam. They were really confident in rolling with Sam. And like hindsight is 2020, and it's like, yeah, if you had the 12th pick, then you probably don't go 2-14. So obviously Sam probably has a better year, and you don't have to, move on from Sam. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
that was kind of like self-explanatory. It would have been interesting. Let's say they was at the sixth spot, though. If they was at the sixth spot, would they have moved on or not? that's a little more interesting. But he said that the pick was a little bit later. They would have rolled with Sam.
Yep, and I think that's the thing that the Sam apologists I think often will say is like, oh, like they're moving on from him. Why'd they do that? Well, Darnold was part of the hand in us landing the number 2 overall pick. If we don't have that pick, I agree. I don't think that he would have wanted to, and I think he would have stuck it out with Darnold because of the situation where they would have been picking in the draft. But it is what it is. JE, I know you love my Clecco jersey. Boom! Can't get enough of this Clecco jersey. It's my favorite.
I will be honest, your setup with all the Jet stuff, yeah, it's real nice though. I'll give you that.
I appreciate that. Yes, I get a lot of feedback. A lot of people like the background.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
What's that?
I said, no, I said it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I like that. I like that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Let's see comments. Let's see. So we've got one asking if Caleb Farley, and again, we're going to talk about the draft a little bit later, but I'll let him hit at this question. He says, if Caleb Farley falls to 23, do you think the Jets take him?
So I go back and forth, right? I'm like, the 2 biggest needs on the entire roster, granted, there are a lot of needs, but it's actually not as much as a 2-14 team would suggest. But the 2 biggest needs is O-line, cornerback. But they just need one cornerback because I think Bryce Hall will improve off of this year and he'll take another step forward. And it's like, but that other cornerback spot is rough because every corner, even including Bryce Hall, every corner that got a lot of playing time last year, all give up when targeted a passer rating of over 100. Lamar Jackson gave a passer rating of 140. So you can't go into another season with that type of instability. You know what I'm saying? So, but they also need O-line help.
Yes.
And you can always get another corner later on in the draft. You can always get another corner later on because there's a lot of corners in this draft. Whether it's Tyson Campbell from Georgia or Eric Stokes from Georgia also, or Asante Samuel Jr. So there's options. Right now I kind of have my eyes set on Creed Humphreys from Oklahoma and Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State. Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State, you can plug him in at right tackle. He played both left and right. You can plug him in at right tackle. You kind of have that taken care of. But it just does come down to how they feel about George Fant. Even though I would just move on from George Fant if I could get a guy like Tevin Jenkins in. But if they want to keep him, maybe they go like, Creed Humphreys, maybe, that would for sure improve the offensive line. But if I had to choose, I would probably lean towards if Farley fell, I'd probably lean towards Farley.
Yeah, it's a tough choice, and I've talked a lot about wanting to take a cornerback actually at 23. I think that's the right approach because listen, we all want to support the quarterback. We do. We want to spoil them rotten with weapons and offensive line, but I still think that even though you take a cornerback at 23, I still think you can accomplish that mission at 34. You can definitely take a guard or the center if he falls, if Creed Humphreys and slips down a little bit further.
110% agree.
Go ahead.
I said 110% agree. Yeah, you can get a guy because remember they have the 34th overall pick also. So
yep. And that's where I feel like that's where the guards should come in. Like I think they need to hit cornerback at 23, whether it's Newsome out of Northwestern. That's the guy I like a lot. I just think he would fit really nicely. But Farley is a good option as well.
Yeah, I don't know if Farley would fall because he's really high, but you never know. But my eyes have really been set on. At first, it was between Newsome, as you just brought up, Tevin Jenkins, and then recently Creed. But we'll see if Farley falls because then now you kind of have pickings out of those 4. You kind of sit in a really really good spot.
Yep, and I think the argument can be made that if let's just say, like you said earlier, there's a lot of cornerbacks that could be had at 34, I would be just fine. Like if they decide to take the offensive lineman at 23 and push the cornerback spot to 34, I still think you're going to get somebody really solid. But I do think that those two positions should be hit at those two draft spots. I would be pretty concerned if they take a wide receiver early. I mean, I'd be excited.
Yeah, me
I'd
too.
be excited, but it's not, it's like a sexy pick, but I don't know how much good it will do if our interior offensive line is crap. So
Right. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. They were like, "Well, what if Terrence Marshall is there?" Or no, he was saying, "What if Terrence Marshall falls to the second round?" And I was just like, "Man, they receiver, believe it or not, isn't a need like that anymore." Now they got Corey Davis, you have Denzel Mims, you still have Jamison Crowder, you got you have Cole in the slot also. And I'm just like, man, that's not a need. Like, like O line and cornerback, those are like needs.
right,
Capital NEED needs. What else?
huge need. We don't have anybody at cornerback right now. We have Bryce Hall, we have Javelin Guidry, I think his name is, and I'm not even sure who the third corner is on the team right now. There's not a lot of meat on that bone, so it worries me. Red Sports comes in with a question for you. He says, "Have you heard anything about Richard Sherman? Is he still a possibility, or does it depend on how the draft plays out?" Why don't you go ahead with that?
I haven't heard anything, but I do believe probably it's gonna come down to how the draft plays out. But Sherman's already put out that he's trying to go to a contender. So even though there's the familiarity between him and Salah, I don't really envision a scenario where Richard Sherman, because he only want to play for 2 more years.
Yep.
So I'm guessing he probably because but arguably like he's only been on good teams for the most part.
Yep.
So
Yeah, he's a little in that regard.
yeah, really though, like he's really spoiled in that regard. So I don't really see a scenario where he comes to like a quote unquote rebuilding situation. But if he does, he does. But yeah, for the most part, I haven't heard anything on that front.
Yeah, and I would think the only scenario where he ends up with the Jets is if he's just not getting a lot of looks. Like if people just aren't interested in him. I think eventually he's going to get signed by somebody, and I don't think it will be the Jets for the reasons you mentioned. He wants to be on he wants to try to win another Super Bowl. He's only got one. He would like a second, I'm sure. So alrighty, let's see. Grant Rude comes in with a good comment. He just says that the 2021 class is cornerback, top heavy, wide receiver, and O line deep. And that's why I feel like people need to just kind of relax a little bit. If we hit cornerback early, it's not necessarily a bad thing. We can still add a ton of offensive players throughout the draft. So
Agreed. I'm just going back and forth between Newsom and Jenkins. One moment I'm like, yeah, go Newsom. Then the next minute it's like, but I really like how Tevin Jenkins on this one play just drove a defender out of bounds. I really like how that looked. So
he, he is I think he is a very potential not even a dark horse, because I think that there's a lot of reason to like him.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he reminds me a lot of just kind of like a smaller version of Mekhi Becton. He's a bully on the field, and I just feel like Douglas, he obviously loves his offensive lineman, and I just think that might be somebody that he can't pass up at 23. That could end up happening.
Yeah, understandable.
Let's see. Before we move on to the next topic, JE says Jets still need a speedster like Kadarius Toney or Marquez Stevenson. We need a Tyreek Hill type of receiver. I have no problem with adding Kadarius Toney. He's actually one of my favorite wide receivers in this draft class.
He's a first round type receiver, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think at best case scenario, we're getting him at 34. I don't think he's going to fall any more past that. I think he's just too damn athletic and too he's got so much elusiveness. He's just crazy.
Right. Now, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So for like the Tyreek Hill thing, Anthony Schwartz out of Auburn, he's the fastest wide receiver in college football. He ran track at Auburn. In high school, he was a track phenom. Like he was like, people talk about, oh yeah, he's pretty fast. He probably could run track, blah blah blah. But no. Like Anthony Schwartz could have gone pro in track after high school. Like he was running 10 flats, like a 10 flat and 100-meter dash in high school. So he could have went pro in that, and obviously like he still ran pretty well at Auburn. So like if you look for like a Tyreek Hill type of guy,
like they don't come like that very often. Just remind people.
Because Tyreek Hill has a specific skill that is very hard to duplicate that most humans on Earth do not have,
Right.
which is that Olympic type speed. Because like Tyreek Hill ran Olympic times in a 200-meter dash in high school, so he has that type of top end speed. And Anthony Schwartz also has that type of top end speed. So that's someone that you can get like later on in the draft. I don't think Anthony Schwartz is gonna go top 3 rounds, but if you can get him in the fourth, you did. I don't know if he could beat Tyreek Hill, but he has Tyreek Hill speed. So if you can get him in the fourth round, that would be something. I wrote about that in one of my articles not too long ago. For the receiver spot, because again, they don't really need to draft one early, but if you can get like a Anthony Schwartz later on, that would really open up the offense.
And this is coming from a track star at Louisville, right? You know your stuff.
Yeah, man. So one thing I know is speed. That's why I can't wait to get a training camp and then just watch people run around and things like that. Just so I can see who's really fast, who's not really fast, and things like that. But I love football. I love watching the best of the best athletes go at it. So.
And someone mentioned earlier that Tyreek Hill is a speed demon. I think that's just the only way to summarize it. JE does say that Marquez Stevenson is a beast. He's been beast. Excuse me. He's been watching him all year.
Yeah,
he's a beast. And Red Sports says Waddle is a blur too. We won't be in position to get him, but yes, he is
the only way you can get Waddle is if you take him with number 2 overall pick, and at that point, all hell will break loose.
Right. It would be wow. I just can't even imagine that. Guys, thank you so much for all the comments. If you haven't liked the button, or excuse me, hit the jet up on this like button. And if you're new here, subscribe. If you're watching it after the stream, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys are enjoying the content with DJ and me. We are going to move on to the next topic because we've been bouncing around a little bit. But I do want to get into this just because you're not going to be on the channel. Excuse me, you're not going to be on the channel every week. Mm-hmm. And so I do want to hear your take on it. Basically, thoughts on free agency. It's been a while now. I want to hear basically not every player. We don't need to do that. But basically, what was your overall thoughts on Joe Douglas's approach? And how do you see what he did in free agency impacting what he does in the draft? And just as a refresher, I mean, I'm sure you know because you cover the team now, but Carl Lawson, defensive end, Corey Davis, wide receiver, Tevin Coleman, running back, Keelan Cole, wide receiver, Sheldon Rankins, defensive tackle, Vinny Curry, defensive end, Lamarcus Joyner, safety, Gerard Davis, linebacker, Dan Feeney, guard, Justin Hardy, special teamer, cornerback, and Tyler Croft, tight end. So
I think if I were to give it a grade, I'd give it like a B. I like the Corey Davis move. I think Corey can be a 1,000-yard receiver. He would have went over 1,000 yards had he not caught COVID. So that's a step in the right direction. Carl Lawson, he was second in the NFL in quarterback hits behind, I think, TJ Watt. So that's good company to be in. So he gets to the quarterback, just has to, finish some plays. He's like he's so explosive off the ball. He's so explosive off the ball, you know what I'm saying? Like he can really like disrupt pockets. So hopefully, he can round back into that form he had, combine what he had his rookie year with last year, and then you'll have a double digit sack guy. So I really like that pickup because again, like, if you have a good defensive line, because you can be next to Rankins and next to Williams, you have a good defensive line. It's gonna make life so much easier for everybody else. So
and that's, I think I've mentioned a lot, is like we don't have to have the best secondary, but we definitely need to have the best pass rushers. Not going to have a good secondary, you better have that covered up pretty good. And I think that's one of the positives from this free agency is they really did a lot to address that.
I agree. I completely agree on that. So they've made some signings to fill some holes, which they feel improve the receiver group, improve the edge group. Hopefully, let's see what's left of Joyner. In that slot corner / free safety spot. Let's see what's left of him. Maybe he can, tap back into his 2018, 2017 form. But overall, he made a lot of good moves. And that makes the draft a lot more easier where now we can just go get a corner, get an offensive lineman, go get a linebacker. Go get a running back. Cause they still gotta get a running back. I know you brought up Tevin Coleman, but Tevin Coleman hasn't really been. I mean, he's had one decent year, but besides that, I mean, he's basically a jag for the most part.
Yep.
So they still gotta
He
get
got
a running back.
bag too.
Yeah.
He got dollar or very very cheap contract. I think it was like 1.1 mil or something like that.
Right. So they still got to go probably try to get like a Travis Etienne or a Javonte Williams. I think Javonte Williams that might be a really really good pickup, but they might have to wait till the third round to pick up a running back because like they still got to pick. I think the running back group the way it is right now could suffice at the end of the day. Could suffice.
Yep.
So I guess they can be a little more. They can risk a little bit more, but like the O-line group, you just can't,
Right. You can't play around with that. I hear you.
Right. Especially in Zach Wilson's first year. Because one thing Zach Wilson does a lot is like he escapes out of the pocket sometimes prematurely. So
Yep.
he's gonna do that in the NFL too. So if the pass rush not pass rush, if the offensive line isn't great with protection, that will only be that's gonna happen more frequently.
Yep. Cool. There were a couple of signings that I didn't personally love. The Vinny Curry one's not a bad signing. He is long in the tooth.
Yes.
He's mostly just a veteran leader at this point. He's not going to be really that involved, I would think. I would hope that Jabari Zuniga is playing more than he does. So we'll just have to wait and see on that signing. I love the Justin Hardy signing. That dude has all the heart in the world, and I love it. We need more players like that. And I think the Tyler Kroft signing is actually a little bit sneaky and underrated. I think he's going to help set the edge in running. We are going to be running that outside zone or that zone running scheme. And so Tyler Kroft, I would hope at tight end, along with Herndon and maybe somebody that we draft, he can try to help, improve the run blocking. Look at that cute little girl. My goodness. All right, a couple of comments. Gumball 3D says if Fields is the QB taken, he says in parentheses, looking less likely, but let's just say he's our guy. He says, would we be better off getting Olave or Wilson in next year's draft as a wide receiver that he could grow with?
So if I'm being like really honest, like I'm not really that big on like people assume that if you played with the receiver in college, draft him and go from there. Like I'm not really too big on that. Like again, like a lot of Dolphins fans were like get Devonta Smith because he played with Tua at Alabama. They did a lot of great things together. Cool, but like that chemistry, like can it translate over? Yeah, but it's a totally different situation. The throws are different. The coverage is different. So I'm not I'm not really too like ho hung on you got to get a guy that not saying that he's saying you got to get a guy that you play with, but I don't I'm saying a lot to say this. It doesn't make a difference. I'm saying
right.
It doesn't make a difference. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's see a couple comments here. So I have not heard this, and if it's false news, sir, you are in big trouble. But Sean Bennett, he said, did you guys hear that the Pats are in talks with Aaron Rodgers?
Oh no, I hear that. I don't know where he got that from. He might have got that off Facebook.
I hope
not.
Sean's been here before, and he's never done this before, so I don't know. I haven't heard that. Let us know where you heard that from. That's a nightmare in the waiting if that happens. I don't want anything to do with that.
Me either.
He also chimes in. He says, our D-line is our strongest unit. It definitely is.
Yes.
He also says, do you guys think it would be a mistake to add another defensive end at 23? I think of all of the positions, I think we need to back off on the D-line in the draft. We can draft somebody, but it should not be early. I think that would be a mistake. It's not a mistake to add pass rushers, but for right now, we have way, way bigger fish to fry. If they want to take somebody later on, go for it. But early on, I think that would be a mistake. Unless somebody just completely slides way, way down, that would be the only scenario where I would consider it. Yeah, Dele says, that better not be true. Yeah, good God. That would be all she wrote for everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, literally everybody. Okay. The Tevin Coleman signing, I'll just try to touch on that. I do agree the running back position does need to be addressed. I think it would be a mistake to not draft anybody We have LaMichael Pirine from last year's draft. I was not a fan of that pick, and I'll speak openly about it. Pirine did not really show much of anything, and I get it. He was running behind a not great offensive line.
Right.
But I mean, in some circumstances, Ty Johnson looked to be the better back, more explosive, better hands. So I like Ty Johnson moving forward. I'm not sure I'm in love with that with LaMichael Pirine moving forward. And like you had mentioned, Tevin Coleman not been that great. And when you just consider the fact that he's been hurt, I think he's 28 now or something like that. So he's nearing the end of his career. We need to have somebody else that's explosive. And I think there's a lot of good guys in the mid rounds. Chuba, is that right? Chuba Hubbard would be a very explosive running back. You mentioned Javonte Williams. He's one of my favorites in the whole draft class. That dude is powerful and has all the balance. So I would be all about adding a running back. It just needs, like you mentioned, it needs to be anything after third round or third round and later. I'm all about it. I think it would be good to add. So what do you think about the Gerard Davis move? Because I think people are also forgetting that he's on the team and that he was their first move in free agency. He only signed a 1-year deal, but I think it was more or less just one of those situations where the Jets were like, we need you to, prove yourself, and we may be interested, moving forward with a long-term contract. So what do you think about Gerard Davis now coming from the Lions?
So I think it was a low risk. I think it was a low risk, medium reward move. Just trying to implement talent into the linebacker group, and hoping that what we saw from him in Detroit was more just him playing under Matt Patricia. So that's more of we'll wait and see. Sometimes everybody wants to have a take on a signing or something like that, but I think one of those we just got to wait and see on that one because he didn't really show much in Detroit outside of like his first couple of years where he was racking up like 100+ tackles or close to it. But the past 2 years he hasn't really played. He hasn't played as much, and he hasn't been as good. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when I did my initial research on him, I think it was his first 3 seasons in the NFL. He had like 10 sacks.
Right.
But he's very good in blitzing. We're not going to be blitzing all day long like we had with Rex Ryan and Greg Williams and even Todd Bowles. But I could see him excelling in that role, and he has ridiculous athleticism. I'm not going to hype him up and say he's going to be some, beast at linebacker for us. But I think the case can be made, and it's like you said, low risk, and I think it could be one of those moves that pays off pretty good for the Jets. They don't have to go crazy and get a weak side linebacker. I think that's what he's going to play. They may need to dress, the strong side linebacker, but we'll just have to wait and see. They may end up taking a linebacker earlier than we expect.
Right.
And I don't know how I would feel about it. We'll just have to wait and see if they take offensive line as well. I would prefer that they actually take a linebacker that they feel really confidently in early than a cornerback, just because I know that there's going to be some veterans that are available after the draft, and potentially just sign those guys on cheap deals, kind of like a Band-Aid for now. And then the front seven would actually be pretty dope. It would be pretty good. It would have a lot of speed and a lot of talent and a lot of youth. So let's see. We got in the chat. So Grant Rude saying, no way Belichick is paying that contract. J.E. says, cornerback, O-line, linebacker, a speedster is in the need. So DJ, you replacing Mike because those are some big shoes. Yeah, Mike is the guy that I started this channel with, and they were asking earlier if you've replaced him. I think that Mike is keeping his job, but it is really nice to have some different people on the channel. I think that's the whole idea, guys. So, all right, we've talked about that. The only other thing that we have left really is the last topic. I apologize. Your head gets chopped off every time I move to the next scene. So it's not you. It's I can adjust it real quick and easy. So anyways, the last topic that I have, and we can just again take phone calls, and if anybody wants to call in, they're more than welcome to. The phone is at the top. But the last topic I wanted to just get is just some rumors, some whispers that you're hearing about the draft coming up. It could be, early in the draft. It could be players that you've heard that the Jets may be coveting, or even just rumors in general around the National Football League. And then the last topic is just the draft, and we can talk about maybe some guys that you really like in the draft that we haven't mentioned yet already. So, what are you thinking? What are some things that you've heard, or rumors, or whispers?
Rumors. I haven't really heard much outside of the Zach Wilson stuff. I mean that. You have to be deaf
Yeah.
to not have heard that. I've tried to. I've read that I don't even the Jets are going to even be attending Justin Fields' second pro day.
So I heard that. Yeah.
I think that kind of nail in the coffin on that one. But anything else, I haven't really heard much as of right now. I'm gonna tap in with some people soon, and then just see what I can.
Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you. We got a phone call to take here. Sorry. Dele, what's up, man?
What's up, John?
How you doing, man?
I'm all right, guys. I just want to tell DJ Bien-Amie he's doing a great job, man. And I agree with what he's saying. I just think he should take Michael Carter, that running back out of North Carolina. He's a great pass-catching running back, and he can block. If we can't get Trey Sermon, we can't get Najee Harris, we can't get Etienne, we can get Michael Carter. I'm telling you, he reminds me of Giovanni Bernard. You remember Giovanni Bernard?
Yes, of course, yes.
Bengals.
Of course.
Hugh Jackson do it. Hugh Jackson made Bernard a beast. And then he got Joe Mixon after that from Oklahoma. Remember y'all try to say, Joe Mixon shouldn't be in the NFL because he had some – what happened? Exactly. So those character stuff that y'all try to compound on, the talent is still there. Alden Smith, Randy Gregory. What's the guy who used to be wide receiver in with the Browns? What's his name?
Josh Gordon.
He used to smoke weed, but he was nice. Come on, man. Don't act like y'all not pro. Act like y'all perfect. God.
Yeah, man. Listen.
People can make mistakes. Can they redeem themselves? Give them an opportunity to redeem themselves. Then come talk to me. Don't put the cart before the horse. Don't you dare say this guy can't do it. Did you see him? Did you teach him? Did you train him? That's why it's called projection. Do your job, scouts. He has 80% of what we need, but he isn't the right fit. Are you fucking crazy? The guy was a 4'4", he's 6'2", 215, and he busts Trevor Lawrence's ass. I don't want to hear shit. And then the year before that, he was up 16-zip against Trevor Lawrence. When the last time Trevor Lawrence won a national championship? As a freshman. Nah. What do we always hear? What have you done for me lately? Exactly. Who beat Trevor Lawrence? Joe Burrow. Where did Joe Burrow used to go before he went to LSU? Ohio State. Buckeyes. Why did he transfer? Because Justin Fields was coming from the University of Georgia, and he knew he couldn't beat him out. What you talking about? And then Georgia was racist as fuck. Jake Fromm went to the national championship the year before Fields arrived. Fields came in and took snaps from Jake Fromm. Don't tell me that Fields isn't good. I don't want to hear shit. Fields is the number 2 quarterback. Zach Wilson can't hold Fields' jock.
All right, brother.
That was a great call.
He always comes in with the heat, and I always have to hang up on him. I wish he would just let me talk to him. Dele, if you're still watching, if you're still listening, I appreciate you, man. I do apologize to cut you off. You are always fire-tastic. So did you? He talked about Michael Carter, and I kind of wanted to speak on that. Michael Carter would be great value, and I think he would fit the scheme maybe even a little bit better than Javonte Williams.
He would be a really, really good pickup also. I think I wrote about him too. Just the running back spot where they need to look at it in the draft. I included him also. He'd be great. He touched on Trey Sermon. Trey's nice. So there's a lot of options to go with. So
yeah, and that there's some people on Twitter actually that are vehemently trying to push for Trey Sermon right now. There's a lot of people that want him as our mid-round running back that we take. Anthony Galeros, welcome back to the channel, man. It's great to see you. Sean Bennett says, this dude needs some of that kush. He is always fired up. We do know football, Dele. We do, and you do too, for sure. All right. J.E. says, Jalen Phillips and Zaven Collins are worth taking at 23. I'm a little worried on Jalen Phillips, just the injury history. Excuse me. And I would much prefer Zaven Collins over Jalen Phillips in that position. I just would rather address linebacker, a position that we still need some people, I think. That's just my personal take on it. Let's see here. Josh Gordon ruined his life. Isn't he in the Arena League now? I have no idea if he's in the Arena League, but Josh Gordon definitely has had a hard go of it for sure and made a lot of bad choices. So anyway, we talked about rumors. Maybe not so many. I think that the Steve Young one was very interesting. He basically all but, said like the Jets are going to take him, and they've already made like basically like conversations with the family, like this is happening.
Right.
I don't know why Steve Young would make that up.
Exactly. I don't know why he'd make that up. And I don't know. I mean, when we asked Joe Douglas in a press conference, he didn't deny it.
Right. He did not. That's a good point to make, actually. And I was wondering if other people caught that. He never said, no, that's ridiculous. He's just talking.
First thing he said was, well, Steve's pretty plugged in. Steve's pretty plugged in. Like, yeah, he's pretty plugged in, but like, this man's basically telling the world your plan. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, so that's that.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Sean Bennett comes in with a comment, and we can talk about the draft real quick before I let you go. But he basically says, he knows crazy, but seriously, you guys watched Darnold's press conference? I did watch it. Nothing crazy, I thought. He did say that he feels like he's proven that he can win in the National Football League, which I believe is debatable. That was the biggest thing that I saw that he said. I don't think he's proven that quite yet, and I don't think that he's not going to say he can't win in the NFL. He's not going.
All right.
He's not going to say the opposite of what he said. But the only thing that really stuck out to me was just that he kind of mentioned like it's nice to go to a team that wants you versus a team that doesn't want you, and he kind of laid his own bed. He made his own bed. He's laying in the bed that he made. We were the laughing stock all season. The Jacksonville Jaguars have the number 1 pick, but we were the laughing stock of the National Football League. And so that's all I got on that one. Thoughts on picks 23, 34. We talked about number 2, what you would do. You said Justin Fields. I just want to hear what you would do at 23 and 34. Your official, if you're the Jets GM, what would you decide to do?
To be honest, I think I would go. I think I would go Jenkins at 23, and then I think at 20, I think at 34, probably go cornerback. Not sure which cornerback I'd go though, but sure go cornerback between either Samuel, Campbell, Stokes. I think Stokes would fit the scheme a little bit better than his teammate Campbell. Campbell seems more like pure man corner, and I think in Robert Sala's offense they're gonna run a lot more like zone, a cover 3, cover 4-ish type of scheme. So, so I think that's what I would go. Even though I love Greg, but I don't think Greg's gonna be there. So I think he's rising up the board. So I don't think he's gonna be there. So.
Yeah, no, I feel that coming too. I think he could go early. We took him. We did a mock draft this past Wednesday, and I think we took him in like the late teens. I think that's about his range right now. I think that's where he's going to end up going. Yeah, and my stances as well. I would say Tevin Jenkins. It would be great. 23. I think Creed Humphrey needs to be in the conversation. I think a lot of Jets fans are really, really high on Creed, but maybe he's not as coveted by NFL scouts and GMs as we're all connecting him to Nick Mangold because we all have a love affair with Nick Mangold, and I don't know if NFL scouts view him exactly the same way. I like him a lot, and I think that they need to consider him at 23 and 34, but I would prefer the pick Creed Humphrey at 23. I think we need to take the best available offensive lineman and not necessarily reach for a guy that is, hail back to our best days with Nick Mangold. So, all right. So J.E. points out, he says Bolden, the cornerback from Washington is also very good. I really like Asante Samuel as well. I think he would be a really good slot corner, would fill in the role that Brian Poole was taking over. So yeah. We got another question for you. It says, Red Sports DJ, what impact do you think Saleh will have on the organization?
I think the energy that he'll be able to bring on a day in and day out basis is something completely different than what Adam Gase brought. I mean, you could just see it like with Adam Gase, like he just always seemed disinterested. And just off of Carl Lawson brought it up during his press conference how he really gravitated towards Robert Saleh because of the energy that he used to display on the sideline. So I think that energy, because again, it's a long, grueling year, and you have to be able to galvanize the troops, which he'll be able to do throughout the entire season. So that's just from a I guess an emotional standpoint and X's and O's. I think he's really good schematically when it comes to drawing up defenses against offenses. So
yeah, and I was relieved when he was hired that he basically came right out and was like, "I am not calling plays for the team." Love that. We have not had somebody like that in forever. We just have
like a head coach needs to like oversee everything that's going on for the most part. Sometimes when you have double duty, it can hurt.
Yep, I agree. So Sean Bennett compliments you. He says DJ is holding his own. So the Jets faithful are. We appreciate you. We have another question for you.
I appreciate that. I can answer the question.
Oh yeah. So Grant Rood says, "What do you fear seeing twice per year for the next 10 to 15 years?" He says, "Which would you fear twice a year for the next 10 to 15 years the most?" He says, "Allen with the Bills, Wilson with the Jets, or Fields with the Pats." I would say Allen with the Bills because they're two unknowns right now.
Yeah, so I would go Allen with the Bills. You said 10 to 15 years. If you had said like 10 years, that would have been cool. I think I'd went with Fields. But, well, actually, 10 is too long because Bill's pretty old, so I can't see him coaching until, I mean, he's already kind of a dinosaur right now. So, but I think I would.
I think in the next couple of years, he's definitely old.
Right. So most definitely, what Josh Allen was doing last year was kind of like jaw dropping. Like I don't know if there's really like an answer for Josh Allen if him and Diggs are cooking like that. I don't know if there's an answer for him because his only issue was his accuracy, and he fixed that.
Yep.
So
well, and again, to credit him, they didn't really have a running game last year. Imagine if they get a running game cooking up and going.
Exactly. I had an NFL evaluator tell me like just off of pure traits, Josh Allen is the most physically gifted quarterback in the entire league.
Right.
Even more than Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, even like stronger than Patrick Mahomes, even though like he can't make some of the throws that Patrick Mahomes makes, and like he doesn't play the position as well as he does. But just from like pure talent, yeah, he was saying,
yeah. I would have to agree. I would say the Bills right now. I mean, again, it's an obvious choice, but I think it's the right choice. Like right now, we don't know what Fields is going to be when he gets to the NFL. We don't know what Wilson's going to be when he gets to the NFL, no matter what team they go to. So that would be an interesting damn AFC East, though, wouldn't it? Like that would just be a ridiculously like all the storylines all season will just be money. They will just be money. Sean Bennett says that he feels like Justin Fields with the Pats would be the scariest. Again, it just depends on what they do with the coach position or the vacancy, assuming when Bill does hang him up. I think Bill wants to get the most wins. I think he wants to try to get ahead of Shula. I don't know how close he is, though. But I could see him sticking around for that.
I think he has a ways to go.
Yeah.
Oddly.
Shula is a goat as well. All right, cool. Gumball says, I don't fear a Tua-led Dolphins team. Finally, we got somebody speaking up, throwing some tuna fish back at DJ. He says, I don't fear a Tua-led Dolphins team. Am I underestimating him?
Right now, nah. I mean, Tua was okay as a rookie, ups and downs, highs like against Kansas City or against Arizona, lows like Denver, and the Raiders. So I understand that. I mean, we'll see what he looks like once they get him some weapons. Hopefully they draft a wide receiver, the first pick, and then, or maybe Kyle Pitts, and then we'll see what it looks like.
God,
So
Kyle Pitts is my favorite. If we're talking about non-quarterback players right now in this draft, Kyle Pitts is disgusting. He is absolutely disgusting, and it will break my Jets' heart if the Dolphins end up with Kyle Pitts.
right.
It will kill me. I mean, that's nasty. Anyway, Kyle Pitts, I think Jamar Chase, you could make the case for it 6. That's going to be pretty bananas for them. So yeah, Sean Bennett's just kind of echoing. Imagine Fields, Allen, Tua, and Wilson all in the same division. That's pretty damn cool.
A lot of storylines.
Yep. That is all I have. So again, if you guys don't want to call in, that's pretty much going to conclude the time that we have with DJ. I am going to stay on past, when I send him off. But DJ, I just want to take a couple of seconds to thank you. You didn't know me for anything. You didn't know who I was, and I do appreciate you kind of taking the risk to join me on the stream live. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it, and I think a lot of Jets fans appreciate you connecting with the fan base. I think it means a lot to them, and it means a lot to me. So,
no problem. Thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I have no issues talking Jets football and ingratiating myself with Jets Nation. So.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. You have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, man. Take care. All right. Oh, we got 2 screens here. Let me close that. That was DJ Bien-Amie, and I hope you guys enjoyed him being on the channel. I'm gonna continue talking. I do want to take phone calls. Just kind of wrap up the show here with you guys. DJ was awesome. You can see the non-bias that he has going into this job. He's very much in the middle, which we all kind of hoped he would be. And I just think that, he's going to be absolutely fantastic reporting for the Jets. And I just think I think we're good. I think we're good. We're in good hands with him in the Daily News rather than Manish Mehta. So a lot of people are thanking you, DJ. If you watch this afterwards, DJ, thanks again for coming on. If you guys want to call in, I will wrap up the show if I don't get any calls. And guys, I just want to say thank you, and just want to quickly say, if you have not liked this video, if you have not liked this stream, please go ahead and jet up the like button. If you're new, if you're watching this for the first time, this channel, please consider subscribing. Check out the channel's content. We have lots of draft profiles, free agent profiles. I've been doing interviews the last 2 weeks. We have a weekly podcast every Wednesday night. So we really do appreciate all the support you guys have given us. And because we appreciate your support, we are doing a giveaway for the NFL draft. All you have to do is be a subscriber to the channel, and we are giving away a free $50 gift card to the Jets shop. You can get yourself a 50% off deal for the jersey that you want after the draft. That's the way we've been promoting it. And so again, consider subscribing. And it doesn't seem like I'm going to be getting a call, so I'm just going to say go Jets, and I'll see you guys next time.